Good morning, students. This is a video for the students of class 8, subject science, chapter number 11, that is force and pressure. It's your lecture number 7. This is your summary lecture. So, we will summarize the complete chapter in this lecture. What is force? So students, force is a push or pull acting on a body which changes its state of rest or motion. Okay, what is force? It is a push or pull acting on a body by which the state of an object can be changed. Okay, by which the state of an object can be changed. So, I repeat, force is a push or pull acting on a body which changes its state of rest or motion. The force applied on an object can be large or small, and the strength of a force is expressed by its magnitude. Okay, the strength of force is expressed by its magnitude, and this force is a push or pull acting on a body, and the force applied can be large or small, and by applying force we can change the state of any, and this force is denoted by the letter capital F. Okay, it is denoted by the letter capital F. Capital F means force, and its unit is Newton. Unit means the force is measured in Newton, like 5 Newton, 10 Newton, 15 Newton, 20 Newton, etc. Okay, so the force is denoted by the letter capital F and its unit is Newton. And students, one other important concept about force is the force is always acting between two objects. Okay, remember that the force is always acting between two objects. Two objects must interact with each other for force to act. It means force is always acting between two objects. For example, to ride a bicycle, we apply force on its pedal with feet, right? To ride a bicycle, we apply force on its pedals with our feet. Means there is an interaction between our feet and the pedals. So this example proves that the force is always acting between two objects. Like in this case, the force is acting between our feet and the pedal. So students, let us try to learn more about forces. Means about the nature of forces and the resultant force. For that, we do an activity. Consider a heavy box and try to push it by yourself. Can you move it? Of course not. So now ask one of your friends to help you in pushing it in the same direction. So now it becomes easier to move. Can you explain why it is easier to move now? The box starts moves because now the force is applied on the box is large. The force applied on the box is large, and due to that the box starts moving. And if we take the another case, like now push the same box but ask your friend to push it from the opposite side. Means if you push the box from right side, then ask your friend to push the box from left side. And if equal force is applied by you and your friend in opposite direction, then the box does not move. Why? Because the equal force is applied on the box but in opposite direction. You try to push the box in left direction and then your friend tries to push the box in right direction, and both of you applied the same force, and due to this the box does not move. What we conclude, that if we apply the larger force in same direction, then the box starts moving, and when we apply equal force in opposite direction, means if we apply the equal force on this box but from opposite direction, then the box does not move. Now the question is, why it happens? So students, this happens because if two people apply force on an object in the same direction, then the total force, means the resultant force, will be large and the object starts moving. Similarly, if we apply equal force on any object but in opposite direction, then the object does not move because forces is equal and it acts in opposite direction. So in this case, means when the force is equal and acts in opposite direction, then the box does not move. 10 Newton force is applied from right direction and 10 Newton force applied from left direction, means forces are equal but directions are opposite. So the box does not move. The box will not move because forces are equal and they act in opposite direction. So here we conclude that if two persons apply force on an object in the same direction, the resultant, means total force, is the sum of all the forces applied. Okay, and force applied on an object in the same direction add to one another. Means if the force is applied on the same direction, then the resultant, the total force, is the sum of all the forces. For example, consider two boys pull a box with 100 Newton and 50 Newton force in the same direction. Means two boys applied 100 Newton and 50 Newton force in same direction. Okay, they pull the box, means they applied force. Then in this case, the resultant force, means the total force, is the sum of these two forces, means 100 plus 50, 150 Newton. The resultant force will be 150 Newton. So I repeat, if the force acts in same direction, if force acts in same direction, then the resultant, means the total force, is sum of all the forces. Okay, the total force is the sum of all the forces. Second case is, if two unequal forces act on an object in opposite direction, then the resultant force acting on it is the difference between the two forces. Here we talk about the unequal forces. Okay, so students, here the forces are unequal and acts in opposite direction. Then in this case, the resultant force, means the total force acting on it, is the difference between the two forces. But the forces must be unequal. For example, suppose Arun and Shyam apply a force of 50 Newton and 20 Newton on a box in opposite direction. Then what will be the resultant force? The resultant force is the difference between these two forces. So the resultant force will be equal to 50 minus 20, 30 Newton. Resultant force is 30 Newton. So when two unequal forces acts in opposite direction, then the resultant force will be equal to difference between the two forces. Okay, the resultant force will be equal to the difference between two forces. So students, in this picture you can see if two forces x and y acts in same direction, then the resultant force will be x plus y, means the sum of these two forces. And if forces acts in opposite direction, like x and y force applied in opposite direction, then the resultant force will be equal to the difference between these two forces, means x minus y. In this way, we can calculate the resultant force applied on the object. Now there is one more case, that what happens when two persons apply equal force on an object and in opposite direction. So if two persons apply equal force on an object in the opposite direction, then the resultant force will be 0. Like if you apply the force 20 Newton from right direction and the another person also apply the 20 Newton force from right direction, then in this case the resultant force will be 0. For example, in the game of tug of war, the rope does not move if two teams pull rope by equal force but in opposite direction, because the net force, the resultant force will become 0. Okay, if two teams pull rope by equal force but in opposite direction, then the rope does not move because the resultant force will become 0. And if resultant force was equal to 0, then the rope or any other object does not move. This is all about nature of forces. Effects of force. So students, there are some effects of force, and first effect is force can produce motion in an object. Okay, I repeat, force can produce motion in an object. A stationary object can be moved by applying force on it. It means when we apply a force on stationary object, then it can be moved. We can move a stationary object by applying force. Force can be applied on an object by either pulling it or pushing it, right? Force can be applied on an object by either pulling it or pushing it. For example, you need to pull the door of a car to open it, and similarly, you need to push the door to close it. Means, suppose if you want to open the door of a car, then you have to apply force, means you pull the door. And if you want to close the door, then you have to apply force. But now this time you have to push the door. Okay. Okay, now think what happens when you apply a force on your notebook. Then it starts moving. Okay, means when you apply force on your notebook and on your book or any other thing, then it comes in motion. So here we can say that the force can produce motion in an object. So students, let us consider another example. A ball at rest begins to move when a force is applied on it. It means when we apply a force on a stationary ball, then it begins to move. Like when you kick the ball, means you applied force, and on kicking the ball begins to move. Means on applying force, the ball begins to move. So we can say by applying force, a stationary object can be moved. And this picture shows that when we apply force on the ball, then it begins to move. And remember that the object moves in the direction in which the force is applied. Okay, I repeat, this is very important point. The object moves in the direction in which the force is applied. For example, suppose you apply force on your notebook from right direction. Okay, the direction of force is right direction, means you apply force on your notebook from right direction, then your notebook moves along right direction. Okay, your notebook is also moves along right direction, and if you apply force from left direction, then the object moves along left direction. The object moves in left direction. So we can see the object moves in the direction in which the force is applied. The direction of force and the direction of motion of object is same. It will be same. Okay. So note this point. The object moves in the direction in which the force is applied. Second effect is force can stop motion of an object. Okay, force can stop motion of an object. It means by applying force, we can also stop the moving object. The applied force can be used to stop the motion of an object. A moving body stops if force is applied in the direction opposite to its motion. Means we can stop a moving object when we apply force in a direction opposite to its motion. Okay. For example, when you ride a bicycle, it moves when you apply force on its pedals with your feet, and it stops when you apply force on the brakes. Right? It stops when you apply force on the brakes. Here two forces are acting. First is the force on the pedals, force applied on the pedals, and the second is force applied on the brakes. And these two forces are acts in opposite direction. These two forces are acting in opposite direction. And due to this opposite force which is applied on the brake, a moving bicycle can be stopped. Okay, a moving bicycle can be stopped. That's why we are saying that a moving body stops if force is applied in the direction opposite to its motion. Okay. Another example is a ball rolling on the ground can be stopped by applying force in the opposite direction. Third effect is force can change the direction of motion of an object. It means by applying force, we can also change the direction of motion of an object. Okay, we can also change the direction of motion of an object. The force applied can also change the direction of motion of an object. For example, you must have seen a batsman hitting a ball with his bat, and by doing so, he is changing the direction of ball with the help of force applied by the bat. Means when a batsman hit a ball with his bat, then the direction of ball is changed. The direction of ball will be changed because the force is applied by the batsman on the bat. Okay, why the direction of ball is changed? Because of the force which is applied by the batsman on the bat. That's why we are saying that the force can change the direction of motion of an object. Means by applying force, we can also change the direction of motion of an object. Next effect is force can change the speed of motion of an object. Okay, I repeat, force can change the speed of motion of an object. The applied force can also change the speed of a moving object. Means by applying force, we can change the speed of a moving object. Suppose we have a rubber ball, okay, and if we push the ball, then it begins to move. If we push the ball, means if we apply force on the ball, it begins to move. But what happens when we push the ball again while it is still moving? What happens? The speed of the ball changes. Okay, the speed of the ball changes and it increases. The speed of ball increases. So students, if force is applied in the direction of motion of the body, the speed of moving body increases. Like a object is moving along right direction and you also applied the force in right direction, then the speed of that object increases. Okay, the speed of that object increases because the applied force means the direction of applied force is same as the direction of motion. That's why the speed of moving body increases. So note that if force is applied in the direction of motion of the body, then the speed of the moving body increases. This picture shows a child applies a force on a moving tire. Okay, this is a moving rubber tire and a child applies a force on a moving tire. And on applying the force, the speed of tire increases. Okay, the speed of tire increases. And why it is increases? Because the direction of applied force by the child on the tire is same as the direction of moving tire, means the direction in which the tire is moving. That's why the speed of this tire increases. Okay, so we can say if a force is applied in the direction of motion of the object, the speed of moving object increases. Now I hope you understood that how the speed of a moving body increases. Okay. If a force is applied in the direction opposite to the motion of the body, its speed reduces. Okay. If the direction of applied force opposite to the direction of motion, then the speed of moving body reduces. For example, frictional force, a force which is always applied in the direction opposite to the motion of the body. The frictional force always applied in the direction opposite to the motion of the body and reduces speed of an object, means slows down the moving object, because the force applied in the direction opposite to the direction of motion. That's why its speed reduces, means it slows down the moving object. So by applying force, the speed of a moving object can be increases or decreases. Next effect is force can change the shape and size of an object. I repeat, a force can change the shape and size of an object. Means the applied force can also be used to change the size and shape of an object. For example, the shape of a rubber band can be changed by stretching it. Means if you stretch the rubber band, the shape of rubber band changes. And why it changes? Because you apply force on it. Types of forces. So students, forces can be broadly classified into two types. First is contact force and second is non-contact force. Okay, there are two types of force. First is contact force and second is non-contact force. So what is contact force? The forces which act directly when two interacting objects are in physical contact with each other are called contact force. It means when the two interacting objects are in physical contact. Okay, when the two interacting objects are in physical contact and a force is acting between them, acts between them, then that type of force is called contact force. Means the force experienced by the bodies when they are in physical contact with each other are called contact force. Some examples are, first is muscular force, second is frictional force, and third is mechanical force. These three forces are example of contact force. But now the question is, what is muscular force or frictional force or mechanical force? So now we talk about the muscular force, a type of contact force. So let's understand what is muscular force. Muscular force is a contact force. And what is muscular force? The force exerted by the muscles of the body is called muscular force. It means the force exerted by our muscles is called muscular force. When the force is exerted by the muscles of our body, then that force is called muscular force. For example, to lift an object or to carry a box, our hand and the object or the box are in physical contact with each other, and to carry a box or to lift an object, the force is exerted by the muscles. Okay, so these two examples shows the muscular force. To lift an object, a muscular force is required. Similarly, to carry a box, to carry your school bag, to carry your notebook, to carry your book or any other object, you require a muscular force. Now the next type of contact force is called frictional force. So students, frictional force is a type of contact force. But now the question is, how can we define frictional force? A force that arises due to contact between two surfaces and opposes the motion of an object is called frictional force. Okay, it means a frictional force always opposes the motion of an object. Okay, the frictional force always opposes the motion of an object, and it always arises due to contact between two surfaces. Okay, it always arises due to contact between two surfaces. That's why frictional force is a type of contact force, and it always opposes the motion of an object. It slows down the moving object and always acts in a direction opposite to the direction of moving object. Okay, I repeat, it slows down the moving object and always acts in a direction opposite to the direction of moving object. Next type of force is mechanical force. Mechanical force is always a type of contact force. Okay, so what is mechanical force? The force applied by a machine is called mechanical force. It means the force applied by every machine, like your washing machine, okay, and there are many other machines in which the force is applied, and that force is called mechanical force. Okay. So now we talk about non-contact forces. What are non-contact forces? The forces that act on a body without any physical contact with it are called non-contact forces. It means when there is not any physical contact between the objects or between the bodies, then the force experienced or the force act on a body is called non-contact forces. Means non-contact forces are acts on a body when the bodies are not in physical contact. There is not any physical contact between the interacting bodies. So I repeat, the forces that act on a body without any physical contact with it are called non-contact forces. Examples of non-contact forces. First example is magnetic force. Second is gravitational force. And third is electrostatic force. These three forces means the magnetic force, gravitational force, electrostatic force are examples of non-contact forces. So let's know about one by one that what is magnetic force. Magnetic force. Magnetic force is a type of contact force. So the name is magnetic force, and this name suggests that there is a force which is exerted by a magnet. Okay, there is a force which is exerted by a magnet. So students, what is magnet? As we know, the magnet is a object. A magnet is a thing which attracts the iron or iron made object, which attracts the iron or iron made objects. So what is magnetic force? The force exerted by a magnet on another magnet or object. The force exerted by magnet means here the force is exerted by a magnet and it can be exerted on another magnet or object. Okay. So the force exerted by a magnet on another magnet or object is called magnetic force. Now see this picture. This picture shows a magnet and some iron pins are placed near this magnet. Right? Some iron pins are placed near this magnet. And when we place the iron pins near the magnet, then the magnet attracts these iron pins. Now you can see here there is not any contact between magnet and iron pins. Even then there is a force. Okay, even then there is a force and which is exerted by a magnet on the pins. Okay, which is exerted by a magnet. Next type of non-contact force is gravitational force. So what is gravitational force? The force by which an object is attracted towards the earth is called gravitational force. Okay, it means we know that when we throw any object, it comes downwards, right? Like if you throw your pen, then it comes downward. It never goes upward. It never goes towards the sky. It always falls down. Okay, it always falls down. So when we throw any object, it falls down. And why it is falls down? Because there is a force which is exerted by our earth on the object. Okay, there is a force which is exerted by the earth on the object, on our object, and that force is called gravitational force. And as we know that our object like our pen are not in contact with the ground. even if there is a force in between the pen and the ground. That's why it is a non-contact force, because there is not any contact between our object and the ground or the earth. So, what is gravitational force? It is the force by which an object like your pen, like your notebook or etc. is attracted towards the earth. Means it always forced towards the earth. That force is called gravitational force. Next is electrostatic force. What is electrostatic force? The force exerted by a charged body on another charged or uncharged body is known as electrostatic force. So what is the meaning of charged body and uncharged body? So students, there are two types of charges are present. What are charges? Charges are the fundamental particles. Okay, these are some particles. These are the fundamental particle. Okay, that have electron, proton, and neutron. So charged body is a body which have charge, and there are two types of charge: positive and negative charge. So what is charged body? The body which contains charge. And what is uncharged body? A body in which there is no charge. Oh, and remember, there are two types of charge: positive charge, negative charge. Okay. So there is no need to learn about the charges. Just learn what is electrostatic force. So what is electrostatic force? The force exerted by a charged body on another charged body or another uncharged body is known as electrostatic force. Okay. The force exerted by a charged body on another charged or uncharged body is known as electrostatic force. And this force comes into play even when the bodies are not in contact. Now we do an activity to understand the electrostatic force. So for that, take a plastic straw. Take a plastic straw and cut it into two equal pieces. Okay, take a straw and cut it into two equal pieces. Suspend one of the piece from the edge of a table with the help of a piece of thread, as shown in this picture. Now hold the other piece of straw in your hand and rub its free end with a sheet of paper. Okay, hold the other piece of straw in your hand and rub its free end with a sheet of paper. Now bring the rubbed end, means the end which you rubbed. Now bring the rubbed end of the straw near the suspended straw. Okay, and make sure that the two pieces of straw do not touch each other. So if you bring this rubbed straw with the suspended straw, if you bring this rubbed straw near the suspended straw, then you will observe that the straw which is suspended with the table is attracted towards the straw which we rubbed. Okay, the suspended straw is attracted towards the another piece of straw. And why it happens? Because on rubbing there is some charge acquired on the straw. That's why this charged straw exerts force on another uncharged straw. Okay, and the force which is exerted by a charged straw on another uncharged straw, that force is known as electrostatic force. Okay, that force is known as electrostatic force. This force comes into play even when the bodies are not in contact. Okay, this force comes into play even when the bodies are not in contact. So this is electrostatic force. Pressure. So students, what is pressure? The amount of force acting per unit area of an object is called pressure. Okay, this is the formula for calculating the pressure. Pressure is equal to force upon area, and the SI unit of pressure is Pascal. Means the pressure is measured in Pascal, and we can say that the pressure is also measured in Newton per meter square. Why? Because the SI unit of force is Newton. As we know, the SI unit of force is Newton, and the unit of area is meter square. So the unit of pressure can be Newton per meter square. So the SI unit of pressure is Pascal or Newton per meter square. Means 1 Pascal is equal to 1 Newton per meter square. From this expression, we can say the pressure we are applying on an object depends on force as well as the area of contact of the object. Okay, means the pressure, it depends on two factors. First is force and second is area. So the expression for calculating pressure is equal to force upon area. From this expression, we conclude that if force increases, then pressure also increases. If force increases, then pressure also increases. And second factor is area. Area is in denominator. So if area increases, then pressure decreases. Okay. On increasing the area, the pressure decreases. Means larger the area of contact, lesser is the pressure exerted on a body. So pressure is depend on two factors. First is force and second is area. Applications of pressure. Now we will learn some applications of pressure. So have you ever seen your mother cutting vegetables? Carefully observe the knife. You will find that the sharp side of a knife is used to cut vegetables. And if you try to cut them from a blunt side, you will have to apply more force in comparison to the first situation. Why? Because the sharp side of the knife has less area. The sharp side of the knife has less area, so that they exert more pressure. Less area, so pressure will be more. This is the reason that we cut vegetables with the sharp knife, with the sharp side of a knife. So the first application is the cutting edges of knives blades are kept sharp to reduce area of contact. Okay, to reduce area of contact. And if area is less, then they exert more pressure. The pressure will be more. They exert more pressure on the surface to be cut. Okay, this is your first application of pressure. Second, camels can walk on sandy soil because they have broad feet. Have you ever think why the camels can walk on sandy soil? Why the camels can walk easily on sandy soil? Because the camels have broad feet that occupy more area. And if area is more, then pressure will be less. So, the broad feet occupy more area, hence reduce the pressure on the sand. So, this is the reason that the camels can walk on sandy soil easily. This is your second application of pressure. So, have you ever think that why the rear wheels of tractors are broader than the front wheels? So, the answer is the rear wheels of tractors are broader than the front wheels to reduce the pressure on the soil. Because if the area is large, then the pressure will be less. So, the rear wheels of tractors are broader to reduce the pressure on the soil, so that the tractor can move easily through the field. Fourth application is skis are flat and long because of the larger area of contact of the skis, that the pressure exerted on the snow is lesser because area is large, so pressure is less. Area is large, so the pressure will be less and the skis can slide without sinking into snow. I repeat, skis are flat and long because of the larger area of contact of the skis, that the pressure exerted on the snow is less and the skis can slide without sinking into snow. So these are some applications of pressure. Now we will see the another application of pressure. So have you ever think that why the potter place a round piece of cloth on their heads when they carry the heavy load? Why they place a round piece of cloth on their head when they carry the heavy load? So the reason is, by doing this, they increase the area of contact of the load which is on their head. Okay, they increase the area of contact of the load so that the pressure will be reduced. If area of contact is more, then pressure will be less. So they increase the area of contact of the load so that the pressure on their head is reduced and they can carry the load easily. Okay, this is the reason they place a round piece of cloth on their head. The reason is to reduce the pressure. Pressure exerted by liquids. You are aware of the fact that liquids do not have a definite shape, right? Liquids do not have a definite shape. Hence, the pressure exerted by them depends on the depth of the liquid. The pressure exerted by them depends on the depth of the liquid. And like solids, liquids also exert pressure. Okay, and liquid exert pressure not only at the base of the container but also on its sides. Okay, the liquids exert pressure also on its side. So to understand it, let us perform some activities. Our first activity is to show that the pressure exerted by a liquid like water The pressure exerted by a liquid at the base of a container depends upon the height of the liquid column. Means in this activity we try to show that the pressure exerted by all liquids depends upon the height of the liquid column. For that, take a glass tube that is open at both ends. Okay, take a glass tube that is open at both ends and fix a rubber balloon at one end of the tube. Then hold the glass tube with the balloon which is facing downwards. Okay, and put some water into it. Put some water into the glass tube. By doing this, you will observe that the balloon starts bulging outward. Okay, the balloon starts bulging outwards. Now pour some more water in the glass tube. What you will observe? You will observe that the balloon bulges even more as the height of the water column increases. Means the balloon bulges even more as the height of the water column increases. When the height of the water column increases, the balloon bulges more. So, this proves that the pressure exerted by a liquid at the bottom of a container depends upon the height of the liquid column in it. Okay. But we conclude here that the pressure exerted by a liquid at the bottom of a container depends upon the height of the liquid column in it. So the conclusion is the pressure exerted by a liquid at the base of a container depends upon the height of the liquid column. Let's perform another activity. In this activity, we try to show that liquid exert the pressure on the walls of the container. Okay, to show that liquids exert the pressure on the walls of the container. And for that, take a plastic bottle. You can take a soft drink bottle, okay, and fix a few centimeter long cylindrical glass tube near to the bottom of this bottle. You can do so by slightly heating one end of the glass tube and then quickly inserting it near the bottom of the bottle. And make sure that the water does not leak from the point. Now cover the mouth of the glass tube with a thin rubber sheet as shown in this picture. And now fill the bottle up to half with water. Okay, fill the bottle up to half with water. Then the rubber sheet fixed to the glass tube bulge. Means you will observe that the rubber sheet fixed to the glass tube bulge. And why it bulges? Because of the pressure. That the pressure is exerted by the liquid on the walls of the container. And if you pour some more water in the bottle, then you will observe that the rubber sheet bulges more. Okay, the rubber sheet bulges more because the pressure exerted by the liquid is more. So this shows that the liquid exerts pressure on the walls of the container. Okay, the liquid exerts pressure on the walls of the container. So from this activity, we conclude that a liquid exerts pressure on the walls of the container Because when we fill the bottle with water, then there is some pressure exerted by the liquid on the walls of the container, and because of that pressure the rubber sheet bulges. Okay, the rubber sheet which is fixed to glass tube bulges, and if we pour more water, then the rubber sheet bulges more. So this shows a liquid exerts pressure on the walls of the container. Now we do another activity to show that liquids exert the same pressure in all directions at a given depth. Means in this activity we tried to show that the liquid exerts equal pressure at the same depth. Okay, the liquid exerts equal pressure at the same depth, and for that take plastic container, or you can take a bottle, a plastic bottle, and make holes in it at the same height. Make holes in it at the same height. Now close the holes with sticky tape. Okay, close these holes with sticky tape. And now pour some water in the bottle and remove the sticky tape from these holes. Pour some water and remove the sticky tape from the holes. What you will observe that water comes out from all the holes with the same force and falls at the same distance. Okay, the water come out from all the holes with the same force and falls at the same distance. And if water comes out with same force, it means we can say the liquids exert the same pressure in all direction at the same depth. Okay, liquid exert same or equal pressure at the same depth. So by doing this activity, we conclude that the liquid exert the same pressure in all direction at a same depth. Atmospheric pressure. What is atmospheric pressure? The pressure exerted by the atmosphere on an object is called atmospheric pressure. And for that, take a glass tumbler and fill it with water, and then take a cardboard sheet and place it over the mouth of the tumbler. Okay, take a glass tumbler which is filled with water and take a cardboard sheet and place it over the mouth of the tumbler. Now place your hand over the cardboard. Place your hand over the cardboard and quickly invert the tumbler. Okay, quickly invert the tumbler. Now slowly remove your hand that supports the cardboard sheet. Okay, remove your hand that supports the cardboard sheet. By doing this, we will observe that the cardboard sheet does not fall. Okay, the cardboard sheet does not fall. And why the cardboard sheet not falls? Why the cardboard sheet does not fall? Because of the atmospheric pressure on the cardboard. Okay, because of the atmospheric pressure on the cardboard. And this atmospheric pressure on the cardboard is much more than the pressure exerted by the water on it. The atmospheric pressure on the cardboard is much more than the pressure exerted by the water on it. That's why, due to this atmospheric pressure, the cardboard sheet does not fall. The atmosphere also exerts pressure on us. Okay, the atmosphere also exerts pressure on us. So the question is, why don't we get crushed under this weight of air? Why don't we get crushed under this weight of air? So students, this is because the pressure exerted by the blood on our body from inside is equal to the pressure exerted by the atmosphere on our body externally. Means the pressure exerted by the blood is equal to the pressure exerted by the atmosphere. Okay, that's why we don't get crushed under weight of air. Thus the effect of atmospheric pressure gets nullified because these two pressures are equal. That's why the effect of atmospheric pressure gets nullified and we don't get crushed under weight of air. Students, your homework is revise all the topics of this chapter and solve the assignment number 1, which is given on your @Quark site. Okay, your assignment is on your @Quark site.